society, or let's say every group of living beings, be it the wolf pack, be it the ants, be it humans, if there's more than two, it requires rules and regulations. So therefore, Capricorn is the archetype of rules of regulation. The single Capricorn probably puts rules and regulations upon himself, as I do. Certain things are not discussable. I set them in stone and I do them. Period. No question. Harsh to myself. Right? But society needs to also, like, we are a little society, right? So, and I'm kind of like the leader. So I decide when we do lunch break, how long we do lunch break, what we do next, if I respond to a question or not, right? So we do have a natural hierarchy, right? And therefore I'm responsible that it works well with the goal that we have set. Now, the difference with all the rules and regulations, that every little unit, every family has that, every peer group has that, like, clique that hangs out with each other, they have rules and regulations. And these rules and regulations are the very basis for judgment. And as my favorite, or one of my favorite teachers, Byron Katie, the inventor of the work, which I could have explained more when we were talking about Sagittarius. Is it really true? She's asking. Right? She's fabulous. I mean, the work is the absolute best technique that reflects perfectly the mutable cross, Gemini, thoughts, reality, Virgo, truth, Sagittarius. And when you apply the questions, you drop your mind into the eternal bliss. Judgment. She says what we humans do best is judge. So please don't get onto this goofy esoteric trip. Oh, I'm not judgmental. Yes, you are. The moment you go into a diner and you decide that you rather want to have ham instead of cheese, that's based on a judgment. In duality, you have no other way than to go with judgments. This kind of judgment is a non-judgmental way, but it is a judgment. Because judgments lead you to make decisions. Decisions are archetype Capricorn, but somehow entwined with Scorpio. Because, our mind tells us that the mind would be the entity that makes decisions. That would be like as if the tail of a dog would say, I walk the dog. Right? The mind is completely misunderstood. When you start to study Buddhism, or when you learn, what I said, like controlling your mind, then the mind becomes a tool. But in our society, it's just like a drunk monkey. Nothing else. Well, this is Buddhism. It's just a drunk monkey. Right? So the judgments are needed for us to draw a line, to have boundaries, to be self-responsible. No, I rather eat the ham today, not the cheese, because of whatever kind of reasons. But decisions are basically based on our emotional desires and not on the conscious thing. But then to bring them into the world, that brings it into the Capricorn. And that's judgments. As every society has rules, regulations, and by that limits, lines, boundaries, not only as a country, the Canadian-US border, which you might build a wall very soon. Sorry. Sometimes I like my own humor, you'll ask. With those rules and regulations, if you cross the line, if you violate the boundary, if you violate, like the Americans, their God is money and the law. Everything's the law. We just go like, I don't understand, It's like, because most laws and regulations in societies are man-made laws. Or, in a better explanation, every judgment, every law a single person has, a group or a society has, is based on their beliefs. Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign before Capricorn. If you believe in the Catholic dogma, your judgment about intercourse will probably be different than when you believe in tantric Hinduism. Reality stays intercourse, but we put the judgments on, right? And our judgments, Capricorn, affect our emotional body, right? They do. Judgments, like harsh judgments, are nothing else than boomerangs. You throw them against someone and they hit you from behind. So one thing that Capricorn, or all of us, we all have 10,000 Capricorn, are invited with this lesson is to take time and reflect, not think about, reflect. What is my very basis belief of the meaning in life that brings me to draw lines, rules, regulations, and judgments? That's really a helpful maturing process. Do I just take the judgments, the pre-designed PR propaganda judgments of a society broadcasted via media, Sagittarius, into my thoughts, Gemini? Or do I allow myself as my own authority to sit and reflect what is the very beliefs of my meaning in life? Make sense? So now, if I go back to the archetypes I've explained before, we do have natural authorities, right? And we do have not natural authorities. I call them paper authorities, right? The supervisor of the supervisor of the supervisor. Yeah? And he has a golden credit card or a platinum credit card. Oh, he must be important. Do you know Little Britain? The series, BBC series? Anyway, there's this one line, you know, a harassing woman comes like to a millionaire somewhere in Nice or like at the Côte d'Azur and just wants to live on his costs. So she pretends she knows him, and while the butler opens the door, you know, she goes in and there's like Ferrero Rocher. It's so British, sorry. And she goes, Ferrero Rocher, oh, he must be doing well. Anyway, so it's all the judgments, right? So there are natural authorities, and natural authorities are usually the ones that are in alignment with their second house, with their resources, that are willing to be self-responsible, and additionally be willing to be responsible for square Libra to others, that are emotionally safe and secure, that are emotionally matured and not buying into drama. And if there is drama, they find a way to settle it, not to suppress it. So they are a natural authority, like the alpha wolf, right? Mostly caring for everyone, highly protective, but also dictating what you shall do. Even if your ego goes, no, I don't want to do that, you will see at the end that it was in your benefit. You know, parents know that. But our societies are very much based on very strong dysfunctional error beliefs. One is, we are the crown of creation. Ha! Right? There are some others that I don't want to mention on camera, but you know, there's some weird ones. Right? So, the problem is, if someone, let's say a Capricorn archetype, gets involved in our society's beliefs, simultaneously, more or less, he needs to avoid, Virgo, or suppress, I get to that word in a second, his or her own truth. Simple example. Let's say you are a patriot and your president tells you go to war and liberate the bad Iraq from the bad Muslims, right? We are legitimized because we're the good ones, so let's bomb them, yeah? And then we're all going to be happy. And you believe that crap, right? Dysfunctional, from authorities that are no authorities. So when an illegitimate authority tells the ones in the hierarchy what is right and wrong, rules and regulation. Capricorn, the archetype of right and wrong, defined on the belief system. We, the Americans, are the right ones, so everyone must be wrong. So let's bomb them to their happiness. Now, a young man believes that crap because family pressure, social pressure, that's all Capricorn, social expectations. Be a patriot. Do that. So he's now forced to kind of like deny his truth, ninth house, Sagittarius. And he's going to this freaking Iraq. And let's say he, I don't know, gets into like a battle and he shoots someone. Now his inner conscious will give a clear message that this was not right. Because it is true, you shall not kill. Right? But the overall social definition of right and wrong suppresses that. Capricorn is the archetype of suppression. Which does not mean that every Capricorn suppresses. But if it is dysfunctionally, meaning like not based in a natural authority, the leader, the alpha wolf, the dysfunctional one, in order to maintain his position to be the paper authority, will need to suppress the others. Make sense? This logic? And he will work with fear, with threats. You see, like Capricorn makes a sextile to Scorpio. Threats are Scorpio. So that's the emotional manipulation, Scorpio. But if the law says, if someone in the war as a soldier would not follow an order and shoot the enemy, then he is wrong and will put to court our rules and regulations. That's a threat, I think. Right? The key is really for Capricorn, or for every human being, to reflect what is my belief system and to hopefully expand to a truer, more natural belief system. Right? As I said, like it expands. Because then my very basis of judgments becomes a natural authority. I take responsibility for my actions. I know that if I would be in a situation like the soldier, I would not shoot. I would not shoot. And even if you would shoot me, okay, shoot me. I'm a reincarnation astrologer, death does not kill me. My beliefs, my truth. But the problem that then happens if someone misled by society's values which are dysfunctional gets in inner conflicts. Let's say he comes home from the Iraq war and gets like all this metal on his chest from some walking dickhead, and he's supposed to feel happy, but he's depressed, right? Capricorn is the archetype of depression. But be careful, because Capricorn has the natural need for self-reflection, for contemplation, for brooding, which a Mickey Mouse society would judge as being depressed, but it's not. It's contemplative, right? And of course, in psychology, or in the pathology of psychology, we have diverse depressions. We have the burnout depression, we have the psychotic depression, like biochemistry is a little fucked up, constantly fucked up. But just the depression itself. And basically what depression is, I lock myself in a room, boundaries, shut the door, and I'm settling for less, but at least I feel protected from that demanding, overbearing world, right? If it's not like the biochemistry. And I think everyone who has depressions has the key, because he locked the door from inside, right? My belief. Anyway, so we deal with depressions, but what I'm getting to is like, there is often like a certain conflict. Like if someone does something which violates its nature, but is seen as right with a society. We have this tremendous conflict that many movies and books were written on. And what then might happen, most likely, is that the person keeps suppressing that emotional feeling of, oh, yeah, makes sense? And that goes hand in hand with righteousness. Righteousness. Capricorn archetype. If the natural alpha wolf leader is righteous, it is right that he's righteous. Understand what I mean? Because he's coming from a natural responsibility, he's coming from a natural authority. It is the motivation, sextile to Scorpio, to be in care of everyone in this hierarchy. But if some paper authority. You know, that we do that because I'm the president. Remember Nixon? You know, how he was like in his last speech hanging on his like, you know, desk, but I'm the president. He was holding on to his status quo. I'm the president, I cannot do anything wrong. Yes, you can, and you did. Bye. Right? So we have natural societies or natural systems, wolf pack, and hierarchies, and we do have dysfunctional ones. And my impression is our societies are highly dysfunctional. Dysfunctional as defined before, which you, by the way, can read in Al Gore's book, Marshall Plan for Earth or something like that. Ways to Balance, I think it's called, from the 1990s or so. Like environmental book, really good. He describes dysfunctional that someone or a group, a small group of people, like one person, let's say the dad in a family, says, I'm the man, I have the penis, and we do what I say. But in reality, he's emotionally not matured. He's insecure. So he puts up this, like, you know, this kind of like, you know, things to stabilize himself. Like, you know, an old house when you do like steel bar to not fall down, or like a Hollywood facade. Looks like a great colonial house. You open the door, it's just sticks. Right? So they're doing this kind of like thing, yeah. But you feel they're not a natural authority, but yet they work with threats because they put up rules, Capricorn, that they would judge you in this and that way if you do not follow the rules. So my way or the highway. And that is typical for dysfunctional systems because they preach one way is the right way for all of us. And it's not. Please look at nature. My mom always said to me, oh, early bird gets the worm. I'm not an early bird. God knows I'm not an early bird. Right? So I always ask, what about the owl? Sleeps all day, gets a whole rat. Right? So everything has its own rules. There's not one rule for all of us. And that's the great mistake that we're doing since quite a while, especially with the globalization. We try to put our value system over every culture and nature in imperialistic forms, which imperialism is, of course, you know, Capricorn. Our way is the right way. If it is for the benefits of the others, fine, but it's not. It is the righteousness to make the wrong appear right by laws of punishment, judgment, right? And fear-based laws. And those systems, those dysfunctional systems, where one person in a family, for instance, or in a company, or in a minority group of people in a society, it's usually the minority group. They put themselves above on a not natural superiority. Not natural one. There is natural superiority. But you feel when it's a natural superiority, because that's going to be a natural authority. You will naturally say, yes, lead. Right? But if one of those like clowns says like, I'm the president, yeah, then you conflict. So when usually it's a minority of people, like the Nazis, yeah, even though whole Germany was like running with them, because Germans are pretty much sheep, right? And if they have a leader, oh yeah, let's go, because we don't have to think. But anyway, you know, good people, but a little like naive. But it was a small group that began to dictate what's wrong, right and wrong. And what they said was right was wrong, and everyone knew it, but because of fear, another archetype, fear of judgment, fear of punishment. Capricorn, fear of punishment, fear of judgment. They did as they were told. And the more they did as they were told, the more they violated their truth. The more they became perpetrators of, or victims of the perpetrated system, becoming perpetrators. Like gang initiations, right? We all heard about that. Or maybe someone of you is in a gang. Yeah. When I lived in California, there was like a warning, you should not, when you drive at night and someone has like the headlights off, you should not give sign. Like, you know, to remind them, because that might have been a gang initiation. The one who is so friendly to give you a sign, hey, your headlights are off, is the one who is chosen to be killed as a gang initiation. Right? That's kind of odd. So the moment when the initiative, the one who gets the initiation, kills someone who was human and friendly enough to give sign, hey, you're in danger, kills him, he will feel guilt. And not the Virgo guilt, sixth house, but legitimate guilt. Capricorn is the archetype of legitimate guilt. In terms of having done something wrong. But now again, we have to discriminate. There is the natural doing something wrong, and there is the doing something wrong in a dysfunctional system. So if now, let's say, someone would get arrested because he uses his right of demonstration, but the law is bended, right? Then he is socially, or from a society point of view, he's guilty, but inside he's not. And that requires, again, self-responsibility. To say, you know what? Like, I have one attitude, me, Ulrich, I have one attitude, and that's my only law attitude. I'm under no law but God's. And it's fine to live this way. So, by the fear of punishment, things can be made wrong, or people can, from their emotional need of being safe, Cancer, of being liked, square to Libra, the need to be independent and self-responsible is cut off, right? Then you get the woof. Make sense? With that goes any form of judgment, as I said, persecution, the fear of persecution. And the one or the who are now in that control of supposedly leadership, dysfunctional systems, I call them perpetrator. It's a perpetrator pathology. Meaning, I put myself above you, not in a natural way, that I'm the natural alpha wolf, but I put myself above you because, I don't know, my hair is gray and yours is not, so I'm better. And anyone who doesn't have gray hair does not belong to me and you have to suffer. I put the other ones down to appear big, a form of dysfunctional form of sadism, as we already heard in Virgo. We have that same archetype in Capricorn. Sadomasochistic in pathology terms, not in, well, also in playful terms, but then again it goes with respect, it goes with love, it goes with trust and those kind of things. But the one who is in this kind of like perpetrator or like want to be authority position, deep inside the inner voice knows what you're doing is not right. But he needs to suppress that voice, suppress it, and keep himself in control and the others in control. But in a dysfunctional control. When you as a mom were in control over your 3-year-olds, that's control, but it's protective control. It's responsible, it's caring, nothing against control. So we have a natural control that is nurturing, guiding, protecting, and we have this control. Most governments, especially since Pluto in transit in the year 2008, end of 2008, same week of Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, most societies right now, especially in the Western world, are now giving reasons for their control with a keyword of security. No, sir, you cannot do that because, it's for security reasons. What? A lighter on an airplane is going to cause, crashing? No. It's hideous, but it's the law. So, what those people in control, illegitimate control, dysfunctional, the perpetrator archetype that make themselves big and they get harsher and harsher, right? They are terribly afraid of losing control. That's why for a while in their dysfunctional, want to be authority, suppressing others, punishing others, killing others, like Stalin, like the guy in the Philippines right now, hopefully not Trump. What they do, as more as that fear, that voice that says, it's not right, grows, as more they suppress it, and as harsher they become, as more violent they become. Violence is more Scorpio, it's not Capricorn. But Capricorn would legitimately create a law for persecution, or as Trump said in his campaign, he would not only legitimize waterboarding again, but even worse things. Well, yeah, vote for him. Scary, right? So what happens is they get more and more stiff and stern. Like, if you look at the history of Hitler, when he realized that he was just delusional, this kind of like fear of the breakdown. And that's something that I've observed in my therapeutic work, that perpetrators have at one point such a fear of the breakdown. I'm talking about perpetrators right now. But it will come. You can count on that. Right? And that is usually cataclysmic, and it's usually a complete implosion. Usually a complete implosion. That was about the perpetrator archetype. Let's put that aside and go to another one. Another person that feels in control or burdened with responsibilities. I'm just making up stories to sign or to sketch out a certain idea. Imagine someone as a child grows up in a very rich family and feels he wants to become an actor or a clown at the circus, because he would love to make kids laugh all day. But now the family judges him. You're not my son. I'm the famous lawyer. So you will become a lawyer too. No, Dad, I really don't want to. Well, then you don't get money. Or blah, 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 blah. Or we'll never get, like, punishment, threats of punishment, fear of punishment. So the boy decides, okay, maybe bad. So he becomes a lawyer, quite successful. But inside, his heart, as I was talking about, like the New York, like male, female, Hawaii, New York, his heart is not in the mission. He's not giving his gift to the world. And therefore, he needs to control himself to keep up the appearance of being the lawyer who he is not in reality, in truth. Make sense? And let's say he has like a big law office, like 35 people, big cases, blah, 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 flying here, flying there, all these big shot things, oh so important. But inside, he hates it. But he would never admit it. Because we go into fancy restaurants, we do the ha 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 ha, lady can do the whole kind of crap. Right? Nothing against it. But, do the thing, but do it when you're present. There are people that have the vocation, by the way, Capricorn is the archetype of vocation, of career. I discriminate between career and vocation. Career is, in our times, in the meantime, chosen and designed. Oh, I have to sketch out my career. Vocation, as the word says, is the call. And usually when vocation kicks in, when you get your vocation presented, you will react with resistance, anger, excuse making from the Virgo department. Oh, I'm not ready yet, choose someone else. And simultaneously you know in that moment that this is what you're meant to be. Because you always knew. You just pretended that you have forgotten to play stupid like the rest of the society. Right? So, anyway. So it is vocation and career. So going back to my lawyer guy, he's doing the thing, meant to be a circus clown, but he's running this office, he feels responsible. Let's say he is a Capricorn, he feels responsible for the other lawyers, for the clients, for all the things that he's doing. So he's so much in a stern self-discipline, in that social position of status quo. He is in control, not only of the law firm, but also of himself. And now there comes the deepest secret of Capricorn, that most astrologers do not know. They have the desire to lose control. It's the desire to lose control. It's really a desire. So going back to the law firm guy. When I was younger, when I wanted to become an astrologer, I quit my career as a manager and I became like a waiter in a bistro in the red light district of Hamburg, which is like cabaret, everything, really everything. Right? So nightlife's very scorpionic, very much taboos. One German woman, she passed away now, Domenica. She is the most famous prostitute of Germany. She has built diverse institutions for women that ran away, for people with HIV. I mean, she was angel. I've never met a woman like her. She always had coffee in my bistro and we got to chat. And she told me, a little bit of her like office, or my very best friend in Los Angeles, he's an escort. The finest person in the world, but it's so interesting to hear who hires high-class dominatrixes? Yeah. Yeah. It is the ones who are in very often in high position, that demand a very strong self-discipline, where they are in control of many and in control of maintaining the appearance. Like Domenica told me that one really famous guy in Germany, being in control, in charge is the right word, he would come 2 times a week for diaper sex, which I didn't understand. But diaper belongs to the cancer department, doesn't it? Right? So if Mr. Big Shot Control, ruler of huge things, would then strap his pants down, get like adult diapers on, and she would bad boy, he experiences a loss of control. She's in charge. He finally does not have to be in charge. So a lot of the dynamics of what we call BDSM is indeed that it is the need to lose control. Make sense? That's why I say it is a very playful way. It is a healthy, it's almost a therapeutic way. And there are diverse forms. As Capricorn has to do with skin and with boundaries, very often this goes hand in hand, just a sense of losing control or being safe, which I know, I always travel with one tight leather pants. That when I had done too much work, when I feel I'm too much in control, I just wear this tight, and it gives a sense of being held. Can you understand? Yeah. Like when your child cannot sleep, you tack it into the blanket, and then it's like safe. Because the womb is tight. When someone has like a strong Capricorn archetype, they will probably prefer tight clothes, because it gives them a feeling of like being held, protected. So material like leather is Capricorn. Another material which is Capricorn, but also with Cancer, I'm just giving you some insights for because it will help you in readings. You will be amazed when you have like big businessmen for consultation and you see certain dynamics and you come up with that. They will be so happy because they have a tendency to judge themselves. That on Tuesday they go to Domenica, put on the diapers and get like batch on the bottom. Botox. No, Botox is something else. Oh, here, on the butt. Okay? So if you, as the astrologer who don't even know him, tell him, listen, if you sometimes, once a week or twice, whenever you feel too restricted, too tight, go for even though it's a taboo, sextile to Scorpio, you go to a taboo area where you can, in a arranged, safe way, lose control. Let loose of that thing. That's wonderful. And if you need to put on tight leather for that, or latex/rubber, then this is perfect that you do it. I can only encourage you, Mr. Big Shot, that you do. Because afterwards you will have experience to dip from the 10th house of Capricorn into the Cancerish, childlike. There's another authority who takes care of me, not in a punishing way, which some people misunderstand with BDSM, but in a caring way, in a protective way. So you can basically exhale, let go, and that will renew and refresh your emotional body so you don't come across as so stern and restricted. You will be vital again. You're not the winter sign, but you're suddenly the summer sign. Make sense? Yeah. So there's a loss of control. I just described it in a sexual tabooish way, but that happens incredibly often, especially among big shots. Because Mr. Hunchback who works at the harbor doesn't need that. He might like spank the butt of his girlfriend, but more like, oh yeah, let's do it. Yeah? But it doesn't have this, there's not the tense and the need to release the tension. Yeah? The higher the tenser, the more the need to lose control. About rubber or latex, when you wear it, it is tight, and because the skin cannot breathe, it's moist. They sweat. Well, what else is tight, warm, and moist, and dark? Let's say the womb. So basically, either they are, let's say, a moon in Capricorn, where the mom was kind of cold, what I described before. They are now recreating a need that was not met in childhood because of too much obligations, expectations, restrictions. So when they come from their big law firm thing and they put their rubber thing on and just sweat a little bit and eroticize that in a playful way, they're basically giving them the best healing that could be. 1,000 times better than psychoanalysis, where they talk about, well, these desires might be, no. So it does exist, it is normal. It always existed, it will always exist. Think of Kama Sutra, right? It is about the whole simulation of intensity. Capricorn makes a sextile to Scorpio, Scorpio being the archetype of sexuality and also about deep penetration and taboos. So nothing wrong with that, right? Make sense? If we put that example aside and we say, okay, Mr. Law Firm does not have the craving for diaper. I'm not saying that everyone who's in a big position should do that. Please get me right. This is not what I'm saying. But it does exist. But lots of them do not have the desire because when they come home from their tiki-taki successful law office, they come home in their like mansion and there's like Mrs. Puffed Up Hair and Botox lady of the house. And they're in the same kind of realm as before, just called private. You know what I mean? Yes, they don't have a break. They probably only have a break when they're in an airplane having like a double whiskey or something like that. They're going from the plague to the cholera. It's true. It is true. Look at the tiki-taki, hotshot gated neighborhoods. It's a prison. So our little I want to be a clown daddy, but I mustn't. Mr. Law Firm Big Shot is like after dealing with all these worldly problems, and law firms are dealing with mundane man-made laws, right? How can we sue that? How can we do that? This is nothing with justice necessarily. So now he comes home to Mrs. like Botox, says the same thing. He's like a ping pong ball trapped in, my heart goes out for them. Bless the guy from the harbor who spanks his girlfriend and they both enjoy it. I mean that. So what this poor guy who does not allow himself the thought, let's go to a dominatrix, or let's put on some rubber, or do some fly to Amsterdam, have a huge joint, half a joint because these things are strong there, right? And go to a, as I said, a BDSM, a S&M party in the Berlin bunker. It was not about S&M, but the atmosphere is so liberating when you're always on a schedule. And suddenly you see people that you've never dreamt of, right? And when you get to talk with them, they run law firms, and they have their girlfriend on a leash, or the girlfriend has him on a leash, It's bizarre. It's like carnival, And you learn so much. If you want to be a good psychologist, go to those kind of things. So instead of him flying to Amsterdam and doing a wild party, and Amsterdam offers quite a lot of wild parties of any kind of couleur. He does not allow himself because he's so rigid in his mind, he's so mainstream boxed in, but he still has the desire to lose control. And now what I'm sharing is the most common way of those people losing control. Two ways. One is a disease. Because disease in our society, in our sick society, is accepted as the escapism out of obligation. I'm not saying that Capricorn is the archetype of disease, but the one way of losing control is disease. And if I could not follow my heart, if I wanted to be a clown but I have to be a lawyer, then most likely we have the happy heart attack. Right? Or if I cannot digest it anymore, a colon cancer is also preferred. No. Sorry. I mean, horrible to go through that, but cause and effect. Right? And the other way is to sabotage oneself, business-like, to create a form of bankruptcy. Suddenly, big shot law firm or big shot oil company or running a business makes a couple of hideous decisions, not consciously, not purposely, but the whole thing crashes, bankrupt everything. He loses everything, And when you ask the person in a very honest moment, isn't that what you wanted? He will say yes. He will say yes. Just to let go of this tremendous pressure that Capricorn can put themselves in, or Capricorn archetype, in dysfunctional societies, or walking a path which is not yours. On the contrary, when you have found your vocation, when you are in alignment with your gift of the heart, you can, let's say the gift of the heart would be running a law company. Yeah? Could be. Even though I'm pretty convinced in reality we would have probably more clowns than lawyers, but nevertheless. But I know that for myself. I'm truly, truly doing what my heart is completely in alignment with. So for me, teaching all those things is not draining at all. At all. So I don't need any kind of like loss of control because I hate my work and have to discipline myself, and afterwards I need a Domenica who whips me, on my butt. Not needed. So when someone is in alignment with the heart and then tightens the butt in a Prussian way and climbs up the ladder of career, takes responsibility on for oneself, for the company, for the people, for the client, for whoever, they will see blossom in their heart. They will see absolute blossom in the heart. But if they have a Capricorn archetype, they better write into their happy, packed schedule, time out. Because Capricorn needs the time out. If not, neurotic forms of depressions are the first sign of you've been doing too much yang and not enough yin. So if Mr. Big Shot Successful says like, I'm flying to Brussels or to London and I do one party weekend. Right? Even with substances, that's what they're there for. Right? And Mr. Would do go-go dancing in a club, right? Or whatever, and be not recognized who he is, and then like back to the job. Well done, balance, because Capricorn makes a square to Libra. It is about balance. It is about the balance between my emotional Hawaiian inner child and my responsibility, being self-responsibly bringing into the world of time and space that what my gift of heaven is, in a self-responsible way, in the hierarchy of a society, whatever that may be. And if you're in alignment with that, you are truly, truly a happy person. Which does not mean that like certain things annoy you. Yeah. But that's the way. Done.
Free your mind.
Remember times without time.
Free your mind.
Remember times without time.